Sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces you will ever experience, and for most people, it's completely out of control. Porn tabs hidden, late night scrolling, hookups that leave you emptier, not stronger. You tell yourself it's harmless, just being human, but look at the pattern: brain fog, weak willpower, lack of follow through, anxiety in the presence of real people. Now imagine the opposite: a life where your sexual drive is not your master, but your engine, where you can walk into a room and people feel something different, a grounded, unshakable presence, where you're not dragged around by impulses, but you consciously decide where your energy goes. In this video, we're going to talk about sexual discipline as a gateway to authority over your mind, your body, your time, and ultimately your life. If you've ever felt like desire keeps hijacking your potential, stay right here.
Before we dive in, let's set the frame. This is not a moral rant, and it's not a purity lecture. This is a strategic discussion about power, how you create it, how you leak it, and how you reclaim it. Sexual discipline isn't only about abstaining, it's about directing. Whether you're single, dating, or committed, your relationship to your own desire is quietly shaping your confidence, your focus, and the way others respond to you. Across this video, we'll explore the psychology, the biology, and the practical systems that turn chaotic lust into calm authority. If you're new here and you care about deep, uncomfortable, but transformative topics like this, consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming breakdowns. And really watch this through to the end, because the last sections are where we bring all the ideas together into concrete daily habits you can actually live, not just think about.
Let's start with a hard truth. Most people are sexually undisciplined because they've never learned to sit with raw, unfiltered desire. The moment arousal hits, they seek immediate relief. Scrolling, swiping, fantasizing, anything to discharge the tension. But that tension is the exact raw material of power. Desire is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's a signal that you have energy available waiting to be directed. Authority begins the moment you can feel that surge and not immediately obey it. Think about anyone you respect deeply: leaders, creators, athletes. Behind the scenes, their lives are built on the ability to delay gratification and hold tension without flinching. Sexual discipline is simply that same skill applied to your most primal drive. When you start treating desire as fuel instead of a fire to put out, you cross the line from being managed by impulses to managing them. That shift is the root of inner authority.
To understand why sexual discipline changes your presence, you have to understand what constant stimulation does to your brain. Every time you chase novelty, new faces, new clips, new fantasies, you're training your reward system to expect easy, instant hits of dopamine. Over time, your baseline drops. Real life feels dull. Work feels boring. One person seems less exciting than an endless feed of faces. Your capacity for sustained focus and deep connection shrinks. This is why people report brain fog, social anxiety, and inability to commit. Now imagine the opposite pattern. When you stop feeding that endless loop, cravings spike at first, but then your brain begins to recalibrate. Dopamine becomes tied to effort, progress, and real interactions again. Sexual discipline is like a dopamine detox for your entire life. As your brain stops chasing low-effort stimulation, your attention, memory, and emotional stability rise. That cognitive upgrade is a massive part of personal authority.
Sexual energy is not just psychological, it's physiological. For men especially, periods of intentional retention, when practiced wisely, not obsessively, can increase subjective feelings of vitality, drive, and aggression in the positive sense, the urge to move forward. Women experience something similar when they become more selective and attentive to where their erotic attention goes, instead of scattering it on shallow validation loops. Think of sexual energy like electricity in a house. If every outlet is leaking, random DMs, late-night content, empty flings, there's less power available for the appliances that actually matter: your craft, your body,
your mission. By setting boundaries, how you use porn, how you flirt, how you respond to temptation, you're essentially rewiring your internal grid. Over time, libido doesn't vanish, it consolidates. You feel more alive, more present, more potent. That embodied sense of aliveness is what other people read as charisma and authority, even if they can't explain why. Authority is, at its core, the ability to say no to yourself for the sake of a bigger yes. Sexual discipline is the pressure test of that ability, because this drive cuts through logic, values, and sometimes even identity. When you practice restraint, not as punishment but as training, you're building the same mental muscle that allows you to say, "No, I won't hit snooze. No, I won't procrastinate this project. No, I won't explode in anger." The brain doesn't compartmentalize discipline. If you're weak in the dark, private areas of your life, that weakness seeps into your public decisions. Conversely, when you know you can hold a line in the most tempting, emotionally charged moments, you carry a quiet self-respect. You stop over-explaining yourself. You offer your word more carefully. People sense that you're not easily swayed by flattery or seduction. That reliability, externally and internally, is the fabric of real authority.
Let's talk about relationships. Sexual discipline is not just a solo practice. It transforms how you relate to others. When you're driven by unchecked desire, people become means to an end. Validation, relief, conquest. This erodes trust, especially with partners who can feel when your attention is fragmented or when you're mentally elsewhere during intimacy. Discipline changes the frame from consumption to commitment. You become capable of choosing one person fully, or of staying single without using others as emotional or physical band-aids. That makes you rarer and more trustworthy. Your yes starts to mean something. Also, paradoxically, when you're not constantly chasing, you become more attractive. You're not needy. You have options, but you're not ruled by them. This grounded selectivity radiates as authority in dating and long-term relationships, because you're clearly not afraid of being alone, and you're clearly not desperate to be chosen.
Sexual discipline also clarifies your standards. When you're always chasing stimulation, you lower your bar. Looks over character, novelty over depth. Authority requires the opposite. Clear internal criteria for who gets access to your time, your body, and your emotional world. By setting a rule like, "I only become sexually involved when there is emotional honesty and aligned values," you're forcing your life into higher quality connections. This doesn't mean becoming judgmental. It means becoming intentional. You begin to notice red flags earlier: manipulation, emotional unavailability, or your own tendency to ignore what you feel just to get what you want. Over time, disciplined choices compound. Your circle tightens, but it strengthens. The people around you respect your boundaries because you actually have them, and that's the core of authority in any domain. Clearly defined lines that you enforce, starting with your own behavior, not everybody else's. Let's address porn directly because it's the silent killer of authority for many. Porn offers unlimited novelty with zero relational risk. You're always in control, yet you're training yourself to be controlled by impulses, by algorithms, by fantasy. Over time, it distorts your expectations about bodies, about performance, about how desire actually unfolds with a real human. It also fractures your attention. You become a consumer of images instead of a creator of experiences. Practicing sexual discipline here might look like hard elimination for a season, strict boundaries on when and how you use devices, and replacing that habit with something physically demanding: cold showers, workouts, even just going for a walk. The point is not to become a monk. It's to reclaim your imagination and your nervous system. When you no longer need synthetic stimulation, you free up an enormous amount of willpower, presence, and confidence. That regained sovereignty reads as unmistakable authority.
On the flip side, discipline doesn't mean repression. Repressing sexuality, shoving it into a dark corner with shame, usually leads to explosions later. Cheating, secret compulsions, or emotional numbness. Authority is about integration, not denial. You acknowledge, I am a sexual being, I experience strong urges. And then you add, I am also capable of choosing what to do with them. That might mean channeling arousal into creativity, writing, music, building a business, training harder at the gym. It might mean learning to communicate desire openly with a partner, without manipulation or guilt. It might mean practicing mindfulness, breathing through waves of arousal rather than instantly acting on them. You're not trying to be less human, you're trying to be more conscious. Integrated sexuality is powerful because it's honest and directed. People trust you more when they can feel that you're not hiding something from yourself or from them.
Let's get practical. How do you actually build sexual discipline? First, awareness. Track your triggers, time of day, emotions, environments, apps. You can't master what you don't measure. Second, friction. Make acting on impulse more difficult. Remove apps from your phone. Use website blockers. Charge your devices outside the bedroom. Third, replacement. Have a go-to list of alternative actions when a wave hits. Push-ups, cold water on your face, journaling, going outside, texting an accountability partner. Fourth, rules. Pre-decide lines you will not cross. No explicit content, no late-night texting exes, no sexualized scrolling in bed. Finally, reflection. When you slip, and you will, don't spiral into shame. Analyze it like data. What led up to it? How can you adjust the system? Over weeks and months, you'll notice longer stretches of control, deeper sleep, better focus. That progression is how authority feels from the inside.
There's also a spiritual or existential dimension. Whether you're religious or not, sexual energy is life energy, the same force behind creativity, ambition, and the urge to connect. Many traditions teach that when you leak this energy carelessly, your sense of purpose fades. You feel scattered, easily dominated by fear or desire. But when you learn to hold and direct it, you become harder to manipulate. Advertisers, apps, and even people who want to use you have less leverage. Authority here means you decide, what am I serving with this energy? A mission, a family, an art form, a community? When your sexuality is anchored to something larger than immediate pleasure, your choices change. You say no, not just because it's bad, but because it's too small for you. That inner alignment, body, mind, and purpose pointed in the same direction, creates a kind of gravity. People feel it as depth, as presence, as real authority. Now we need to address gender nuances briefly. For men, undisciplined sexuality often shows up as scattered pursuit, constantly needing newness, validation, or conquest. Authority comes when you can sit with that hunger and decide, I will build, not just chase. For women, it can show up as overgiving, confusing attention with affection, or using sexuality to secure safety instead of cultivating internal stability. Authority, in that case, means owning desire without trading it for crumbs of validation. In both cases, the principle is the same. Your body, your attention, and your intimacy are high-value assets. Sexual discipline is the portfolio management of those assets. You stop panic selling yourself for short-term highs. You start investing in connections and habits that compound over years. Regardless of gender, when you treat your erotic energy with respect, the world slowly starts treating you with that same level of seriousness. Let's compress everything into a few key takeaways. First, sexual discipline is not about shame or repression, it's about power. Specifically, the power to direct your strongest drive toward what actually matters. Second, your brain and body adapt to whatever you repeatedly do.
If you marinate in instant stimulation, you weaken focus, presence, and confidence. If you practice restraint and redirection, you strengthen authority across all areas of life. Third, your standards in intimacy reflect your standards everywhere. When you raise the bar on who gets access to your sexual and emotional world, your friendships, work, and self-respect rise with it. Fourth, discipline is built through systems, awareness, friction, replacement habits, clear rules, and honest reflection, not through raw willpower alone. Finally, integrated sexuality, where you own your desire and choose what to do with it, is deeply attractive and deeply stabilizing. It makes you someone others can trust, and someone you can trust. Now it's your turn to move from theory to practice. Think about the last month of your life. Where has sexual energy been leading you instead of you leading it? Is it late night scrolling, DM flirting you don't really care about, or relationships you know are misaligned but comfortable? Choose one concrete commitment for the next 7 days. Maybe no porn, no sexual content in bed, or no texting people you're only using for ego or escape. Write it down, tell someone you trust, track it daily. Authority is built in these small private decisions long before it's visible in public. If this video challenged you or gave you language for something you've been feeling, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming deep dives on discipline, relationships, and purpose. Drop a comment with the habit you're committing to this week and share this with someone who needs a wake-up call. Your desire isn't your enemy, it's your engine. Learn to drive it,